Yes, AJ back. Assalamu alaikum. So it is for the record back now. It's 18 minute 15 hours, right? It is still October the 8th, right? Wednesday. So I posted my previous spiel because again, why else would you talk about something if it's not affecting you personally, your livelihood, your matter, for to go about life and business, because perhaps people have, very myopic view. They're perhaps first-time viewers of who AJ is, what AJ is talking about, because you have not taken the time to understand the context and the pretext, because you're just like the bitch, right? The bitch, unlawful Jewish state of Israel, right? That's what they call it. They're piggybacking on the Jewish cause now, because the state of Israel is not about particular Jews, it's ethno Jews. You can be Jews, but you have to go to indoctrination camp to become a Jew and to claim right to the land that you do not have any ties to, because the land, you must have ties to the land, and the ties to the land means you look at yourself in the mirror, where the fuck you're from. So there are nations and tribes. Before nations, they're tribes, and the tribes, they're clans. Clans are a collection of tribes as well, right? So you have tribes, each clan, you have your 6th degree. When you go to the slammer in Quebec, for example, you have to sign a form for someone to come and visit you. So this is real life example, real life experience explaining to you the fuckery. So there are basically what they call 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 4th degree, 5th degree, and 6th degree. That's what they call it, right? So now that would become your immediate family. So 1st degree is your spouse, because that's your immediate family, spouse, your common law, you're a person you're sharing a habitat with, right? You're not to mention if you're sharing the bedroom, that would be nice, right? That's you gotta pay for it now. But nonetheless, when you come together, you trust him, because people go pay for that shit. But when you come together under common law, you're entrusting, because as a father, there's no father in his right mind will give away his daughter only to be abused by another motherfucker or anybody for that reason. So this is what's called common law. So you have people trying to get together because they have common values, right? Common law comes from common values. First of all, it has nothing to do with your belief fucking system. Common law is common values. Now it just so happened that the church and the state were separated post World War I, right? Where you had 1924, basically 1914, the war had started. Sarajevo, fabricate a problem, manufacture events, distort the story. But at the end of the day, the war happens. World War I, 1917, Bolshevik Revolution. You don't need me to tell you about that. You can go and research your history yourself. And then you had the communist agenda, the fall of Mother Russia, the empire, right? Of Mother Russia, because at that time, empire had been an empire. Mother Russia for a reason. Now, when you go back to the name, Russia, right? Now, if you're a schmuck who do not understand what does that mean, that's on you. But ask a Russian will tell you. Now, the point is this. When you talk about trust, Russia. So when you say trust, there's Tao and there's Rus and there's Tao. Everything has to be bound by that trust. Because at the end of the day, you only talk to somebody because you trust that person. You don't let anyone enter your house because you know that person. You don't know anybody. You don't let that person in if you don't know that person, because you don't trust that person. So trust is the fundamental bond. So trust. Now, when you trust, you're obviously going to trust the person. That's your immediate family. So it's a trust. It is implicit. Now, when you go about in life and you have basically, your cousins and what have you, because remember, your father, if you're a father, you had a father perhaps, right, before, because you're at the end of the day, we're humans, right? We're not a fucking monkey evolved to a monkey, perhaps you are a Darwinist, that's fine. But again, Constitution, we're a secular world. You have the freedom of belief of what you want. So, you cannot subject and enforce your bullshit onto the people of the land, the inhabitant, because before you can develop all this fuckery under corporate laws, which are nothing but maritime laws. Maritime laws, corporate, maritime, because it's what? It's commerce. Maritime is for commerce. Merchandise. You have to go buy shit, merchants. So, 80% of the world trade goes through sea, historically, and to this day, there's 80% sea. But the market share is 80%, but within that market share, there are players. Now, 80% is sea, 50% is land, and 5% is air. Now, you cannot ship everything in air because it's expensive. So, sea provide the most economical, right, per basically weight, per volume. You can just ship stuff, right? And it's a kind of a pyramid at the end of the day, you know, depending what you're shipping. Either you're shipping international trade, because this is why countries exist, because Canada as a corporation has to basically do what? Business, international trade. You have natural resources that has to be extracted. You have, you know, intellectual property. You have economic, whatever it is that you are exporting of to the world, it has value, monetary value, that someone else will come on the international market and say, okay, I'm willing to pay for this much. And it becomes a market, right? Now, to buy and sell on the international market, there's something called the world reserve currency, and historically it has been the USD, at least the last 50 years. That had ended in 2024 because there was an agreement back in 1974 with the Saudis, right, and the US government to basically enforce and sell oil only in exchange for US dollar, because now we have moved away from gold standard to fictitious fiat credit-based system where it is 1-to-3 ratio. You have to put 1/3 of the credit you're seeking. So if you want to borrow $300,000, you got to put $100,000 first before you can get a credit up to 200. So normally you can put your house as a collateral. They call it home equity line of credit, for example, right? Why do I know this? Because again, I went through the life motion. I know what I'm talking about. And if you have something to challenge me, well, come on. I have a live debate with you. I live in Canada, the nation of capital fuckery, right? I worked in the high-tech park, Canada, right? That's what it is. 15 plus years of experience. Unless you know how to design, you know, circuit board. Forget. I mean, you don't have to have a degree, by the way. I don't give a shit if you had. I finished aerospace. It took me 5 years because I had done basically aerospace electronic system design engineering with cooperative experience. So I had jump-started my career way back in 2006, when most of you schmucks. I was 21. I purchased my first house with a mortgage agreement, which I was alluding to in the previous video. So now we're essentially today, if you want to argue with me, it's logic and reason. It's not, oh, I'm blind, or I have no capacity, because maybe perhaps you're ignorant to the law yourself. It's section 19 of the criminal code. Ignorance of the law does not permit you, right? Does not give you the permission to commit such offense. So if you're a bylaw or a municipal peace officer or OPP for that matter, there's ignorance of the law that you cannot. Under the Supremacy Clause of Canada, section what? 52, subpart 1, part VII. Go look it up. The Constitution Act of 1982. That is the Supremacy Clause. That is any municipal or provincial, that is, you know, administrative law or common law. That is, it doesn't matter, because common law, you know, to you may be Christian, other people may not be Christian. You know, you guys are complaining about the Hindus coming in on their horses and getting through the drive-through, and fucking all these retards, you know, making U-turns on the fucking highways because you got a fucking corrupt, complicit government. They are fucking stooges. They got bought by the World Economic Forum. It's not me saying that. Go fucking read the Run Agenda 21 and all the fucking bells and the motion they have in the fucking House of Commons or the Legislative Assembly in Alberta. So I